This is Ben Carper. I am a candidate for South Carolina State Senate in District 6. That is the Senate seat that Dwight Loftus is retiring from. I do appreciate each and every one of you that is in District 6, and I am sincerely grateful for the kind support that I have received from so many of you throughout the district. There are 3 names that are on the ballot, and I am the only constitutional conservative that is running for this seat. Don't be fooled. At election time, a lot of rhinos get conservative religion. They get a case of conservative religion, and they talk like rock-ribbed, die-hard constitutionalist conservatives, limited government, lower taxes, less government spending. And if you look at their voting record, you find that it is exactly the opposite. So don't be fooled. There are some that have conservative religion right now because we have an election coming up. This election will be decided on June the 11th in the primary 2024. Because there is a 3-way race, I'll have to receive 50% plus 1 vote to avoid a runoff, and I would like to try to avoid that if at all possible. I've been giving these updates on what I have been observing going on in Columbia. On the 14th day of March the 14th, 2024, I was watching the Senate committee debate, and there was the director of DHEC. Now that's an important thing, because with the health czar bill that was passed, and they're trying to amend that and reconcile that bill now, this man will probably wind up as the health czar or someone like him. And this is what I observed, the notes that I took while I was sitting there observing the committee meeting, watching that on ETV. Anybody can stream what goes on there. And the debate continued in the Senate about the coronavirus vaccine. And some senators are still promoting the need for a vaccine. I observed there that there were senators that said we need to have the people of South Carolina. These are South Carolina senators. That we need to have people in South Carolina take these vaccines. The problem is that this is an untested, it is an unproven injection. I don't call it a vaccine. It is an injection. DHEC, in the committee meeting, stated that their official position is in favor of the injection as a basis of employment. The argument that was being made is there was such an outcry among the citizens in South Carolina, and rightly so, about the passing of S975. There was such an overwhelming outcry of the citizens that DHEC was put back on their heels. So in this committee meeting, DHEC, a state agency now, is starting to push forward, hey, we still need the injection as a means of employment. If you want to go to work at such and such company, then you need to have the injection before that. Now, I think there are some things that you and I need to understand. We need to understand, first of all, this. The state agencies in South Carolina are basically leftist in philosophy. I have observed that from trying to get up to speed. I plan to be elected in Senate District 6. I plan to represent you. I take your phone calls, reply to your emails. I want to be your representative down there. And so I'm trying to get up to speed to find out the lay of the land. And I've discovered that the majority of state agencies down there are simply left of center. They are liberal. The agency itself, Department of Natural Resources, DHEC, Department of Health and Environmental Control, right down the line, they are all basically left of center. They are staffed by unelected staff, we call them bureaucrats, that are basically left of center. And I've discovered that they are interested in broadening their power They want to become more and more powerful. That's why DHEC, well, I mean, they were lobbying. They were in this Senate committee meeting pushing back against the citizens. The citizens said, "You're not putting that stuff in my arm." And DHEC is pushing back, says, "Oh yes, it's for your own good. We know better than you." We need constitutional conservatives elected to office, if for no other reason, to hold the line between the Constitution, which is the only thing that guarantees you and me any liberty at all, is a piece of paper called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. To hold the line, because these agencies, much like the movie The Blob back in the 50s, it just continues, it just leaches out. It just continues to leach and leach and leach. The director of DHEC testified at 9:48 a.m., I wrote the time down, on 3/14/24, and he testified in a mask. In a mask. I couldn't see his face, couldn't read his lips, because he wore a mask the whole time he testified. We are 4 years from the COVID pandemic, some call it a plandemic, and the director of DHEC was still wearing a mask. Now, where does this come from? Well, I'll touch back on this in just a moment, but this is CDC and World Health Organization influence, and this influence is right here in South Carolina. Then during his argument was a constant laundry list of what ifs. Well, what if this happens? Well, what if that happens? Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Can you imagine living in a world where technocrats in the bureaucracy, sitting in a cubicle, looking into a computer, people you've never known, never met, not elected, can't be unelected, and they run your life just like they're running communist China, Russia, or for that matter, any other totalitarian government? What if? But what if this happens? But what if that happens? Now, there's a reason for this. You see, we are watching before our very eyes a fear-based economy being established. Pfizer and other people stand to make billions with a B, maybe trillions, but billions of dollars off of these injections, and it is all to make you afraid. The fear of man, the Apostle Paul said in the Bible, the fear of man bringeth a snare. And there are millions of people in the United States today that are snared, they are trapped by the fear of man. What if? What if? What if? You realize that 109 nations, when the World Health Organization gets together in May of this year, 2 months from now, when they get together, they are wanting to produce a worldwide pandemic treaty. And they want to put together, the World Health Organization wants to put together a mammoth bureaucracy modeled after the climate change bureaucracy, where we have Chicken Littles running around, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. They've been saying that for 100 years. There have been 40 major climatological catastrophes that have been predicted. None of them have ever come to pass. Not one. But there are individuals like Al Gore and others that have become ungodly wealthy. I mean, fabulously wealthy, selling the idea that the sky is falling. And so, in May of 2024, the World Health Organization wants to put together a whole economic model after the environmental, the climatological model, and there are some that stand to make billions of dollars, and all the rest of us will have the cost of living, the cost of moving about, constantly increased. This is not about health. It is about making money. It is about monetizing the fear of men and monetizing the matter of so-called health. So why was the director of DHEC wearing a mask? Well, all of that has come down from the CDC. All of that has come down from the World Health Organization. And I promise you, they are not finished. There is a pandemic preparedness agency in the World Health Organization and a pandemic preparedness agency in the CDC and a pandemic preparedness agency in the White House, and they're wanting to put one right here in South Carolina. And you have an ungodly marriage, a big tech, COVID lockdowns, international health organizations to lock the people of the world down and to deprive sovereign democracies and sovereign countries. We're not a democracy, we're a republic. To deprive us of this and to turn us into technocracies where bureaucrats in a remote place govern our lives. Now, I've taken enough time on this. I have so much that I need to say. If you will elect me as the senator from State District 6, that runs from Marietta, Travelers Rest to Greer, from up around Highway 414 down to 29 and then down to Pelham Road, State Senate District 6, Ben Carper, I need your vote on June the 11th. And I promise I will keep you informed. I will answer your phone calls, and I will fight to defend you, the citizen in District 6, because I happen to have children and grandchildren, and I don't want them to live in a world like I've been talking about, and I don't want your children and grandchildren to live in this kind of world either. God bless you. Please support us and help us in this campaign.